Okay, so type 8, when in the 0.5 level of awareness, as we call it, or in the level of the higher mental center, when the person is quite evolved, type 8 gets directly in touch with a holy idea called truth. Before we explain what truth is, holy truth, let's try to define what the holy idea is. When we are too far away from Allah and God, we disconnect from His beautiful names that in Sufism are called 99 names of God. We disconnect from them and we fall down into an inferior realm of being in which we build in a belief that replaces those names and attributes for something much lower, something that tries to mimic that higher level attribute, but that goes the other way. The intention is to relieve that sensation of being and that understanding of what greater reality is, but we never make it because it's, we are just not in touch with things as they are, and therefore we don't see the greater reality for what it is, and therefore we can't really reproduce that vision of how things are in essence. So for all of us, this unobstructed view of greater reality that we call holy idea gets more passive, and we disconnect from it. We go away from it. And then we fall down into a much lower level replacement called fixation, which is the lower mental habit or a limiting belief or a fixed worldview. Now, the holy ideas that Allah or God lent us when we came to this planet are 16 out of the 99. And they are not really yet in the level of the names, or even higher, the level of the attributes behind the names. But they are very high level remembrance episodes of something slightly closer, or a lot closer actually, to those actual names of God and attributes. They are what is possible for us still in what we can call the human dimension of those attributes of God. And God lent us particular 16 holy ideas out of the 99 to be even more available to us here on this dimension. 16 because some of the 9 types have more than one. Some have 2 and some have 3, making up for a total of 16. These holy ideas are therefore sort of enlightened ways of seeing greater reality, and they are always the opposite of what I came to believe in when I was operating from my personality or from ego. So the holy ideas resolve the issue behind the fixation. And what is the holy idea of truth? Well, it's when 8s look at everything, everyone, everywhere around and inside and say, this is God. This is Allah. like the call of this prayer reminds us right now. This is essence. Essence exists. Yes, it's true. It's not a fable, it's not a myth, it's just reality. It is for real. Holy truth means I see with my own eyes and without a doubt that this exists. God exists, and God is in all and everything. So Holy Truth has another thing, which is God is in everyone and in everywhere the same way. It's not more in me or in you, it's both. Meaning that truth is in both of us. But what if we diverge? What if we don't agree? Well, there is truth to both positions. Who said that only one thing is true? By the way, when a problem happens, or when an injustice happens, who said this is bad? Maybe this was needed for us to remember and go back closer to Allah. Holy truth is the very oneness of existence. It's the bubble that we have just remembered. The one bubble. It's also called unity. It's the sensation that we are all one. But it's the unequivocal sensation. And more than a sensation, I see it with the eyes of my soul. In Sufism, these eyes are called the eyes behind the eyes, the physical eyes. The eyes of light and water that connect directly to my spiritual heart, the qalb. These are the eyes that see the invisible, not the physical eyes. One of the 5 guardians, so that we don't fall back down into ego. We need to use those eyes, otherwise the physical eyes will see what we shouldn't. We'll focus attention, visual attention, on something that is a target of our ego, the thing that our ego wants us to see. When 8s lose touch with Holy Truth, guess what they start seeing? They start seeing what's wrong and needs to be corrected in the sense of injustices that are happening. Like, I was not treated well by my mother or by my father, and now I'll make sure that I will succeed in life just so that they see that they did not harm me. And I'll tell them a lesson. And whoever comes on my way and goes against me or against what I consider to be truth, I make sure that the person will take her part and, will see that I don't like to be harmed, that I'll harm back. So revenge, vengeance. And sometimes it's not so obvious. It's not just what we always see in 8s, that the 8 says what's in their head. But also it can be very subtle. It's like, if my father didn't give me what I think I deserved, he can't even die before I get that. I will be mad at him if he dies before giving this to me as I deserved, because this is what's fair. This is called vengeance. And it's the fixation for all type 8s. And that fixation exists only because, as it happens for everybody, the 8 is connected from a particular holy idea, in this case called Holy Truth. Holy truth is paradoxical because when I connect to it, I understand that my truth, my individual truth, and my way of seeing things and my vengeance is completely partial and mistaken. So holy truth means I am not the owner of the truth. Only God knows. And in my heart, in my higher level heart, I connect, when in higher dimensions, I connect to the virtue called innocence. This virtue is when the heart wishes for no reaction and is actually unable to react. It's when the heart becomes completely receptive and not active and takes in whatever happens outside as something that I will work on. So innocence is the complete capacity for non-reactivity. Innocence is also the heart's capacity to look at people and see only goodness in them and nothing else. And see that if goodness is not happening right now, this is also goodness, because it's God's plan. But how so? Well, because sometimes we all need suffering in our lives in order to wake up and remember, and in order to be willing to come back to His and only truth. Innocence is also the complete unwillingness to do harm to others and to myself. Is the condition of someone who became completely harmless. And that was achieved because this person got humble enough to feel like they're limited, they're not big, they're small, finite, and just a human being, a poor human being, very limited one. So I am very small, fragile, vulnerable, and therefore I am innocent. It's like a baby, like a newborn or a baby like months old. If you go close to a baby, don't try this at home, but if you pinch the baby in the arm, and if it hurts a little bit, the baby cries until the pain goes away. And then the baby stops crying and then looks at the person who pinched and smiles. Why? Because innocence means reacting in a whole new, fresh way to what's happening now and not to what happened in the past. So the opposite of innocence, lust, means reacting to what happened to me in the past, assuming that it will happen again. And basically a Nate in the personality level goes to life with an armor, ready for the war that will for sure happen. Why? Because I lost touch with innocence. And then when I get all armed up, guess what happens? Wars happen. Because I provoke them involuntarily. The thing I want the least happens because I'm starting it. I become provocative, I come across with a big energy, and people just feel that I'm intimidating. When I'm smaller, have my heart open, with no need to avoid the bad things that I think will come, and instead I see that there is only goodness around me, I create a force inside me, a very feminine force, that invites for no attack, for total compassion from the other side. Compassion creates compassion. Someone who's armed up creates wars. And lust is the opposite of innocence, also because 8s try to be big, invincible, unstoppable, while innocence is just being mellow, sensitive, soft, and small. As we are, as very delicate and fragile human beings.